I let a beta protect me for one night. At dawn, 500 wolves took over my kingdom, and I became the supreme Omega. I became an Omega. The night I realized power meant nothing without someone to share it with. 10 years as the albino queen, and I'd never felt truly seen until a beta stable master looked at me like I was just Adelaide. Not a crown, not a weapon, just a woman. So I did the unthinkable. I asked the moon goddess to unmake what I was born to be, and she answered. Now I'm hiding in a hunter's cabin at the edge of the Thornhill forests, and the thing I sacrificed everything for is about to get both of us killed. The fire crackles in the stone hearth, casting dancing shadows across Griffin's face as he stacks another log. His storm-gray eyes keep flicking to me, concern etched in every line of his weathered features. He knows what's coming. The blood moon rises in less than 2 hours, and with it, my heat will begin. The worst possible timing. But then again, when has timing ever been on my side? You should go, I tell him for the 3rd time tonight, my voice rougher than I intend. The first waves are already starting, a flush of warmth creeping up my neck, the hypersensitivity of my skin against the rough wool blanket. Griffin, please. When the moon rises, I'm staying. His voice is quiet but absolute. He crosses the small cabin in 3 strides, kneels in front of where I'm curled on the narrow cot. His calloused hands, those hands that have gentled 1,000 frightened horses, cut my face with impossible tenderness. I chose you, Adelaide, not because you were a queen, but because you're you. Let me protect you. I want to laugh. I want to cry. This beta, this man who smells of wood smoke and hay and honest iron, thinks he can protect me. Me, Adelaide Thornhill, born Alpha Luna, the white wolf who once commanded armies. But that's the thing about love. It makes you forget what's rational. It makes you believe in impossible things, like a beta being able to stand against what's coming. I close my eyes and let myself remember, because if we're going to die tonight, I want to remember why it was worth it. They called me the albino wraith, the ghost queen with ice in her veins and winter in her soul. I was born Alpha Luna, the rarest designation in the shifter world. Female alphas are uncommon enough, female alphas with Luna powers. There had been only 4 in the last 2 centuries. I was the 5th. My wolf form was pure white, not a single mark of color, and my eyes glowed silver when the moon was full. The moon goddess herself had marked me at birth with a crescent birthmark on my left shoulder blade. I was blessed. I was powerful. I was terrifying. I was 18 when my parents died defending our northern border from a rogue pack. They fought side by side, as they'd lived. My father, the Alpha King, and my mother, his Luna Queen. They killed 30 rogues before they fell. It wasn't enough. When they brought their bodies back to Thornhill Castle, wrapped in the royal standard, something inside me turned to stone. I didn't cry at their funeral. I stood in my black ceremonial robes, accepted the crown from the high priest, and spoke my vows with a voice that didn't shake once. I am Adelaide Thornhill, 5th of my name, Alpha Luna of the Thornhill Kingdom. I will protect this realm with blood and bone, with tooth and claw, until the moon goddess calls me home. The court expected a grieving girl. They got an ice queen instead. For 10 years, I ruled alone. I never took a mate, never even considered it. Alpha Lunas didn't need mates. We were complete unto ourselves, blessed with the strength of alphas and the intuitive wisdom of Lunas. We were the moon goddess's chosen warriors and healers combined. I led my armies in battle. I healed the sick with Luna magic. I passed judgment in the throne room with absolute authority. No one questioned me. No one dared. I thought I was complete. I thought power was enough. Then 6 months ago, everything changed. I was inspecting the war horses in the royal stables. We'd received reports of raiders on the eastern border, and I wanted to ensure our cavalry was ready. The head stable master had died the week before, some fever that took him in 3 days, and they'd hired a replacement. I expected the usual, someone who would bow and scrape and keep their eyes on the ground in my presence. Griffin Winslow didn't bow. Oh, he was respectful. He inclined his head when I entered, stood straight, addressed me properly as Your Majesty, but he didn't cower. He looked directly at me with those storm cloud eyes, and when I asked him about the horses' readiness, he answered honestly, without embellishment or fear. The cavalry horses are in good condition, Your Majesty, but your personal mount, Silverwind, has a stone bruise on her right foreleg. She shouldn't be ridden for at least a week. No one told me no, ever, even when they should. I should have been angry. Instead, I was intrigued. I followed him to Silverwind's stall. My white mare, as pale as I was, nickered when she saw me. Griffin approached her slowly, speaking in a low, soothing voice that made my wolf perk up and listen. He ran his hands down her leg with a gentleness that seemed impossible for someone with such work-roughened hands. When he showed me the slight swelling, explaining what needed to be done, I found myself actually listening. Not because he was telling me what to do, but because he clearly knew his craft and cared deeply about the animals in his charge. "You read," I said, noticing a small, worn book tucked in his belt. He colored slightly, the first sign of self-consciousness I'd seen. "Yes, Your Majesty. My mother taught me before she died. I know it's unusual for a beta of my station, but what are you reading?" He pulled out the book hesitantly. It was a collection of ancient poetry, the pages soft with handling. I recognized the title. It had been one of my mother's favorites. Something shifted in that moment. Something dangerous and wonderful and entirely inappropriate. I started finding reasons to visit the stables, checking on Silverwind's recovery, inspecting the other horses, discussing the training regimen for new cavalry mounts. Griffin and I would talk, really talk, about things that had nothing to do with horses. He told me about growing up in a small border village, about losing his family in a raid when he was 16, about working his way across the kingdom taking whatever stable work he could find. He'd taught himself to read from his mother's books, the only things he'd saved from his burning home. I told him things I'd never told anyone, about the weight of the crown, about the loneliness of absolute power, about wondering sometimes if my parents had been lucky to die together, rather than live without each other. "You've never considered taking a mate?" he asked me once, and immediately looked horrified at his own boldness. I should have rebuked him. Instead, I answered honestly. "Alpha Lunas rarely do. We're taught that we're complete, that we don't need another half. And do you believe that?" I looked at him, really looked at him, saw the kindness in his face, the strength in his frame despite being beta, the intelligence in those gray eyes, smelled his scent, which I'd started unconsciously seeking out, wood smoke from the forge where he repaired equipment, hay and horses, and underneath it all, something uniquely him that made my wolf want to get closer. "I used to," I whispered, the first time he touched my hand, just helping me mount Silverwind after her recovery. I felt electricity arc between us. It wasn't the dramatic, overwhelming mate bond of legends. It was quieter, warmer, like coming home after a long journey. Oh, goddess, he could be my mate, my true mate. The thought terrified me. He was beta. He was a servant. He was so far below my station that even acknowledging attraction would be scandalous. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. Couldn't stop seeking him out. Couldn't stop imagining what it would be like to have someone see me. Not the crown, not the power, just Adelaide, and love that person. 3 months ago, everything came to a head. Literally. There was an attack on the northern border. A pack of rogue wolves, larger and more organized than usual. I led the response personally, taking 50 warriors with me. We drove them back, but not before their alpha got close enough to sink his teeth into my shoulder. The wound wasn't fatal, but it was deep, and I'd lost a lot of blood by the time we made it back to the castle. Griffin found me in the courtyard, being helped off my horse by my guards. I was trying to walk on my own, to maintain dignity, but my legs weren't cooperating. The world was spinning, and I could feel the poison from the rogue's bite spreading through my system. Then strong arms caught me. I looked up into storm-gray eyes gone wide with fear. "Your Majesty, Adelaide, you're hurt." "I'm fine," I managed, but even I didn't believe it. He carried me. A beta stable master carried the Alpha Luna Queen through the castle corridors, while my guards followed in stunned silence. He refused to leave even when the healers shooed him away. He sat outside the infirmary door all night. When I woke at dawn, feverish and in pain, he was the first thing I saw. He'd somehow gotten past the guards and was sitting beside my bed, holding my hand. "You can't be here," I whispered. "I know." He didn't let go. "If anyone sees, I don't care." And that's when I knew. That's when I admitted what my heart had been trying to tell me for months. I was in love with Griffin Winslow. Completely, irrevocably, impossibly. An Alpha Luna and a beta. It violated every rule, every tradition, every expectation. Even if he were Alpha, a queen didn't marry a stable master. But beta? It was unthinkable. I thought about it anyway. For 3 days, I lay in that infirmary bed, recovering from the poisoned wound. Griffin visited every day, always with some excuse, bringing flowers from the garden, reporting on Silverwind's condition, returning a book I'd lent him. The healers looked scandalized. My guards looked uncomfortable. I didn't care. On the third night, when the moon was dark and the castle was sleeping, I made my decision. I slipped out of the castle alone, still weak but determined. I walked through the ancient forest for 3 hours until I reached the Temple of the Silver Moon, a sacred place where only Alpha Lunas were permitted. The temple had stood for 1,000 years, built around a natural spring that reflected the moon perfectly. The moon goddess was strongest here. I knelt at the edge of the sacred pool, looked up at the dark sky, and prayed. Moon goddess, mother of wolves, mistress of tides, I am your daughter Adelaide. You marked me Alpha Luna at birth. You blessed me with power and position. But I come before you now to ask for something that has never been asked. Transform me. Take my Alpha Luna designation. Make me Omega. Let me know vulnerability. Let me know what it means to need someone instead of being needed. Let me choose love. The words hung in the silent air. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the dark pool began to glow with silver light. A presence filled the clearing. Ancient, feminine, overwhelming. The moon goddess herself. Her voice resonated in my bones. You asked to unmake what I made you. Do you understand the cost? I do. You will lose your crown, your power, your position. The world will see you as fallen, corrupted, weak. I know. And still you choose this? I thought of Griffin's storm-gray eyes, the way he saw me as just Adelaide, the peace I felt in his presence, the completeness I'd never known I was missing. Yes, I choose love. The transformation began. I can't adequately describe the pain. It felt like every bone in my body was breaking and reforming. My instincts, a lifetime of alpha dominance, twisted and inverted. The Luna powers I'd wielded so confidently relocated, settling differently in my chest. I screamed. I wept. I thought I would die, and then it was over. I lay gasping at the edge of the sacred pool, my white hair spread around me like a halo. I felt different, smaller somehow, more vulnerable. The aggressive confidence that had always filled me had softened into something else. The moon goddess spoke again. Your designation is changed, daughter. You are Omega now. But hear me well. Your power remains. I did not take your Alpha Luna gifts. They are hidden, buried deep, but intact. The world will not know this. You must choose. Reveal your power and live as neither Alpha nor Omega, or hide it and live as you appear to be. Why would you leave me power if I chose to be Omega? Because true power is not in designation. It is in choice. You have chosen, Adelaide Thornhill. Now live with your choice and discover what strength really means. She faded. The silver light disappeared. I was alone in the forest, transformed, terrified, and strangely exhilarated. I walked back to the castle as the sun rose. I went directly to the throne room, where the morning council was assembling. I stood before them in my still blood-stained nightgown, my hair wild, my eyes surely showing the aftermath of what I'd endured. I am no longer Alpha Luna, I announced. I have asked the moon goddess to transform me, and she has answered. I am Omega now. The explosion of outrage was immediate and overwhelming. My cousin, Lord Matthias Thornhill, led the charge. You've done what? You've corrupted yourself, destroyed your designation. For what? For that beta stable master you've been sneaking around with? The entire court knew. Of course they knew. I'd been foolish to think we'd been subtle. I did it for love, I said simply. Love? Lady Cordelia, the eldest council member, spat the word like poison. You threw away your birthright, your power, your position for a beta servant? You're mad. You're corrupted. Omegas cannot rule. You must abdicate immediately. I tried to argue, tried to explain, but the law was clear. Only alphas could hold the Thornhill crown. I was Omega now. That meant I was no longer qualified. They stripped me of my crown right there in the throne room. Matthias, my arrogant, power-hungry cousin, literally pulled it from my head while the guards held me still. They declared me fallen, corrupted by base desire, weakened beyond redemption. You will leave this castle, Matthias declared, settling my crown on his own head like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. You and your beta lover. You are no longer welcome here. Be grateful we don't execute you for the sacrilege of deliberately destroying your designation. I stood there, crownless, powerless in their eyes, and felt my wolf stirring inside me. They didn't know. They thought the transformation had weakened me, They had no idea that every ounce of my Alpha Luna power remained, just hidden beneath my new Omega designation. I could have killed them all, could have torn Matthias apart for his presumption, but I didn't, because that wasn't why I'd chosen this. I'd chosen vulnerability. I'd chosen love. I'd chosen to see what life was like without always being the most powerful person in every room. So I bowed my head and left my own castle. Griffin was waiting outside, the guards having already told him what happened. His face was anguished. "Adelaide, you didn't have to. I never expected. We could have kept it secret." I kissed him, right there, in front of the shocked guards and scandalized courtiers. "Let them see. Let them know. I chose this," I told him. "I chose you, and I don't regret it." That was 3 months ago. We've been living in a small cottage at the edge of the kingdom ever since. Griffin works for a farmer, tending livestock. Officially, I do nothing. The fallen queen, living in obscurity with her unsuitable lover. Unofficially, I've been protecting my people the whole time. Matthias is a terrible king. He's arrogant, blind to real threats, more interested in throwing elaborate parties than actually governing. Within a week of his coronation, I spotted raiders preparing an attack on our northern border. I slipped out at night, shifted into my white wolf form, and slaughtered them all before they could strike. When travelers on the eastern road were attacked by bandits, I was there, unseen, eliminating the threat. When a plague threatened the crops, I used my Luna healing magic to save the fields. No one knew it was me. They thought their new king was protecting them. They had no idea their fallen queen was still fighting for them from the shadows. But lately, I felt something else gathering at the borders. Something unnatural, something dark. Whispers in the shadows. Movement in the darkness that isn't quite wolf and isn't quite human. It's been growing stronger. And tonight, the night of the blood moon, it feels like it's finally going to reveal itself, which is why I'm here, in this hunter's cabin deep in the forest, far from Griffin, far from anyone who might get hurt. Except Griffin followed me. The heat's starting, I say now, pulling myself back to the present. My skin is fever hot, my breathing shallow. The Omega heat is different from what I remember of my Alpha ruts. Less aggressive, more desperate. It makes me want to nest, to hide, to submit. But underneath, I can still feel my Alpha Luna power coiled tight, fighting the Omega instincts. It's exhausting, maintaining the balance. Griffin brushes sweat-dampened hair from my forehead. I know. That's why I'm here. You don't understand. When the moon rises fully, I'll be vulnerable, helpless. If something attacks, then I'll protect you. You're Beta. The words come out harsher than I mean them. Griffin, I love you, but you can't stand against what's coming. I can feel it. Something bad, something ancient and wrong. He doesn't flinch. I know I'm Beta. I know I'm not as strong as an Alpha, but I have this. He touches my chest, right over my heart, the bond between us. You chose me, Adelaide. Let me choose to stand by you. I want to argue more, but another wave of heat steals my words. I curl into myself, shaking. Griffin pulls me against his chest, and his scent, wood smoke, hay, safety, helps ground me. Outside, the sun has fully set. Through the cabin's single window, I can see the moon rising. It's red, blood red. The first chime of midnight comes from the distant church tower in Thornhill. On the 12th chime, I feel it. A wrongness in the air. A presence. Many presences. Approaching fast. Griffin feels it too. He's instantly alert, reaching for his sword, his father's old blade, the only thing he has from his family. We both move to the window. The forest is moving, but it's not trees swaying. It's shapes, dark shapes flowing between the trunks like living shadows. They emerge into the clearing around the cabin, and my breath catches. Wolves, hundreds of them, but they're not real wolves. They're made of shadow and moonlight, their forms constantly shifting and reforming. Their eyes glow red, the same red as the blood moon. They don't make sound when they move. They're spectral, wrong, unnatural. I count quickly, my Alpha Luna training taking over despite my Omega state. 50, 100, 200. They keep coming. Adelaide. Griffin breathes, his voice tight with fear he's trying to hide. What are they? I don't know. I've never seen anything like this, but I can feel something from them. Some connection, some terrible familiarity. The last wolf emerges from the forest. I finish my count. 500, I whisper. There are 500 of them. The cabin is surrounded. Completely. and as I watch the largest of the spectral wolves, a massive creature that stands nearly as tall as a horse, turns its blood-red eyes directly toward our window, directly at me. It opens its mouth, and sound finally comes out. Not a howl, something worse. It sounds like voices, human voices, whispering, cursing, speaking words I recognize because I've heard them all before. Corrupted, fallen, unnatural, weakened, destroyed. All the words the court used when they stripped my crown. And I understand. These creatures aren't random invaders. They're here because of me. The whispers coming from the spectral wolves freeze my blood in ways that even the approaching heat cannot warm. Those words, corrupted, fallen, unnatural, I heard them 3 months ago in my own throne room, spat at me by people I'd protected for a decade. Now those words have taken physical form, manifested as shadow creatures with blood-red eyes that circle this cabin like death itself. Griffin's hand finds mine in the darkness. His palm is rough with calluses, warm with life, and I cling to it like it's the only real thing left in a world gone mad. Through the window, I watch the spectral wolves move in synchronized patterns, tightening their circle. They don't behave like normal wolves. There's no pack hierarchy visible, no alpha leading the hunt. They move as one organism, 500 pieces of a single terrible entity, and I can feel them. Goddess help me. I can feel them inside my head. Each one carries an emotion like a brand. Hatred, fear, disgust, betrayal. These aren't random feelings. These are specific. These are mine. Or rather, these are what people felt about me when I announced my transformation. The heat chooses this moment to surge through my body with renewed intensity. My knees buckle and I grab the windowsill for support. It's nothing like the ruts I experienced as an Alpha Luna. Those were fierce, aggressive, empowering. This is the opposite. Every instinct screams at me to hide, to nest, to curl up in the darkest corner and wait for someone stronger to protect me. My Omega designation wants me to submit, to become small, to let someone else handle the danger. But underneath that, my Alpha Luna power writhes like a caged beast. It hasn't disappeared. The moon goddess kept her word. My power remains intact, just buried beneath my new designation. The problem is that using it while in heat creates a dangerous feedback loop. Every time I tap into my Alpha Luna abilities, it intensifies my Omega vulnerability. The two designations war inside my body, and I'm terrified that if I push too hard, I'll tear myself apart from the inside. Adelaide, Griffin's voice cuts through my internal struggle. He's moved away from the window and is now pushing our small table against the door, stacking the 2 chairs on top of it. His movements are efficient, controlled, but I can see the tension in his shoulders. How long do we have before they attack? I force myself to focus, to think tactically despite the heat making my thoughts sluggish. I extend my senses, another Alpha Luna ability, and touch the edges of the spectral wolf's consciousness. What I find there makes me want to vomit. They're waiting for something, I manage to say. They want me at my most vulnerable. They'll attack when the heat peaks. Griffin stops his barricading and turns to look at me. Even in the dim firelight, I can see the fear in his storm-gray eyes. But it's not fear for himself. It's fear for me. Fear that he won't be strong enough to protect me. Fear that loving me has doomed us both. Then we have maybe an hour, he says quietly. Griffin, you need to run. The words tear out of me. Please, you can get to your horse, ride for the border. These things want me, not you. You could... No, Griffin, no. He crosses to me in 2 strides, cups my face in his hands with that same impossible gentleness he uses with frightened horses. You sacrificed a kingdom for me, Adelaide. You gave up everything. Your crown, your position, your power as far as anyone knows. You became something the entire shifter world sees as lesser, just so we could be together. Do you really think I'm going to run now? Do you think I'm that much of a coward? You're not a coward. You're being sensible. I'm being exactly what I need to be. Your mate. He says the word with such conviction, such certainty, even though we've never performed the formal claiming. I chose you. I choose you. Every day, every moment. Let me stand with you. Let me protect you. Even if I'm just beta. Even if I'm not strong enough. Let me try. Before I can respond, the first spectral wolf hits the door. The impact shakes the entire cabin. The table Griffin piled against the door slides back several inches, chairs clattering. The wood, solid oak, meant to withstand bears and storms, cracks down the middle like it's made of paper. They're coming, I gasp. Another wave of heat making my vision blur. Griffin has his sword out, his father's blade, old iron forged in traditional ways, the only inheritance he has from a family killed in border raids. He positions himself between me and the door, feet planted, shoulders squared. A beta facing down 500 supernatural creatures to protect an Omega in heat. I want to tell him he's magnificent. I want to tell him I love him. I want to tell him this is suicide. I don't get the chance. The door explodes inward. 3 spectral wolves pour through the opening, their shadow forms rippling like smoke given teeth and claws. Griffin swings his sword, and the blade passes through the first one. For a horrible moment, I think the weapon is useless against these creatures. Then the spectral wolf shrieks, a sound like metal scraping against metal, and its form dissipates into wisps of darkness. Iron. Of course, iron has always been effective against supernatural entities. Griffin's old-fashioned blade might be our only weapon, but one sword against 500? Another spectral wolf lunges through the broken door. Griffin catches it mid-leap, his blade severing its shadow head from its shadow body. It dissolves with that same terrible shriek, but now more are coming. They pour through the doorway, through the cracks in the walls, and I watch in horror as one begins to materialize directly through the solid wood of the far wall, its form phasing through matter like it doesn't exist. "Adelaide!" Griffin shouts, and I realize he's being overwhelmed. 5 spectral wolves surround him now, darting in and out, their shadow claws leaving trails of darkness in the air. My Omega instincts scream at me to hide, to run, to submit, but I've never been good at submission. Even transformed, even in heat, I'm still Adelaide Thornhill. I'm still a fighter. I reach deep inside myself, past the Omega vulnerability, past the heat that makes me want to collapse. I find my Alpha Luna power coiled in my core like a sleeping dragon. I grasp it, pull it forth, and release. Silver light explodes from my hands, pure Luna magic, the kind that heals and protects and destroys anything unnatural. 3 spectral wolves simply cease to exist, vaporized by the blast. The others recoil, shrieking, but the cost is immediate and devastating. The heat intensifies tenfold. My legs give out completely and I collapse to the floor, gasping. My skin feels like it's on fire. Every nerve ending screams for relief, for comfort, for things I can't afford to think about right now. "Adelaide?" Griffin is at my side in an instant, having driven back the remaining wolves with wild swings of his sword. He pulls me against his chest, and I bury my face in his shirt, breathing in his scent. Wood smoke and hay and iron and him. It helps. It doesn't fix anything, but it helps. "I'm okay," I lie. "Keep fighting. I just need a minute." He doesn't argue, but I can feel his reluctance as he positions himself in front of me again, sword ready. The spectral wolves have pulled back slightly, regrouping. Through the broken door, I can see dozens more waiting outside, their red eyes gleaming in the blood moon's light. They're testing us, learning our capabilities, and they're in no hurry. They know the heat will only get worse. They know I'll become more vulnerable. They're patient, these creatures of hatred and fear. I force myself to focus, to think through the haze of heat and instinct. I extend my senses again, really examining the spectral wolves this time instead of just reacting to them. What I discover makes my blood run cold. Each wolf carries a specific emotion. Yes, but not just any emotion. These are emotions I recognize. That one there, with the especially twisted form, that's carrying Lord Matthias's smug satisfaction when he tore the crown from my head. That smaller one, darting nervously at the edge of the pack, that's Lady Cordelia's fear of me, fear that my transformation made her question everything she believed about hierarchy and designation. That massive one at the back, the one that first looked directly at me, that one carries the collective hatred of the entire court. "Griffin," I whisper, my voice hoarse. I know what these things are. He doesn't take his eyes off the circling wolves, but I see his jaw tighten. "Tell me." They're manifestations, physical embodiments of the hatred and fear and disgust the kingdom felt when I announced my transformation. Every insult hurled at me, every curse against my choice, every moment of rejection and scorn. It all fed these creatures. The kingdom literally created its own monsters out of their inability to accept that I chose love over power. Griffin's sword wavers slightly. That's not possible. Emotions can't become physical entities. They can under the right circumstances. Powerful collective emotion, focused on a single target, during a significant celestial event. I gesture weakly toward the window and the blood-red moon beyond. The blood moon amplifies supernatural energy. 3 months of concentrated hatred, all directed at me, building up pressure like water behind a dam. Tonight, the dam broke, and these things poured out. So they're here because of you. They're here because of what people felt about me. There's a difference. But is there? If I hadn't transformed, if I hadn't chosen him over my crown, none of this would have happened. 500 shadow wolves wouldn't be circling this cabin right now. Griffin wouldn't be bleeding. Wait, he's not bleeding. Not yet. But he will be. I can see it. Sense it. This moment is a calm before a much worse storm. As if reading my thoughts, the spectral wolves attack again. Not cautiously this time. All at once. They swarm through every opening. The door, the windows, the walls themselves. Griffin fights like a man possessed, his iron sword a blur of motion. But there are too many. I see him cut down 1, 2, 3. But for every one that falls, 2 more take its place. A spectral wolf lunges at me directly. I blast it with Luna power and it disintegrates. But another takes its place immediately. The heat is a living thing now, consuming me from the inside out. Every use of power makes it worse. I'm trapped in a terrible cycle. Use power to survive, which makes me weaker, which means I need to use more power. I'm going to die here. We both are. Then, I see it happen, and everything seems to slow down. A spectral wolf, larger than the others, breaks through Griffin's defenses. It comes through the shattered window, its form coalescing into something more solid, more real than the others. Its claws, actual claws now, not just shadow, gleam red in the moonlight. Griffin sees it too late. He's turned away, fighting 2 others near the door. The wolf leaps, and I scream his name. He spins, raises his sword, but the angle is wrong. The wolf is too fast. Griffin makes a choice. Instead of defending himself, he throws his entire body between the wolf and me. The claws rake across his shoulder, his chest, his arm. I watch in horror as ribbons of red bloom across his shirt. The wolf's claws aren't shadow anymore. They're real, physical, tearing real flesh. Griffin's blood, bright, vital, impossibly red against the crimson moonlight, spatters across the floor. Something inside me breaks. The Omega instincts, the Alpha Luna power, the careful balance I've been trying to maintain. It all shatters. Pure rage floods through me. Rage I haven't felt since I was crowned at 18, since I swore to protect my kingdom with blood and bone. I don't consciously decide to release my power. It simply explodes out of me. Silver light erupts from my body in a wave of pure force. It expands outward in a sphere, disintegrating everything in its path. 12 spectral wolves simply cease to exist, vaporized so completely they don't even have time to shriek. The walls of the cabin crack, the furniture splinters, even the stone fireplace develops fissures, and then I collapse completely. The backlash of using that much power while in full heat slamming into me like a physical blow. Griffin catches me before I hit the floor, his wounded arm wrapping around my waist despite the blood pouring from his shoulder. We sink together, his back against the wall, me cradled in his lap. I can feel his blood soaking through my shirt, warm and sticky and terrifying. Griffin, I sob, pressing my hands against his wounds. They're deep, too deep. I can see muscle and bone through the gashes. Griffin, no. It's okay, he breathes, and his voice is already weaker. Adelaide, it's okay. I chose this. You're dying. Maybe. But you're alive. That's all that matters. Through my tears, I look around the cabin. My explosion of power has bought us maybe 30 seconds. The spectral wolves have pulled back again, but they're still there. Hundreds of them. Waiting. And Griffin is dying in my arms. My heat is at its peak now. I'm trembling, feverish, barely able to think straight. The Omega instincts are screaming at me to submit, to give up, to wait for rescue that isn't coming. The castle is 3 miles away. Even if I somehow got help, Griffin would bleed out long before anyone arrived. I have the power to destroy all these wolves. My Alpha Luna abilities are still there, buried deep. If I used everything I have, every ounce of power the moon goddess left me, I could vaporize every single spectral creature circling this cabin. But using that much power while my heat is peaked would kill me. The contradiction between my Omega designation and Alpha Luna abilities would literally tear my mind apart. I've been dancing on the edge of that destruction all night. If I push any further, I'll fall over. Griffin is dying. I can save him, or I can save myself. Not both. The choice should be easy. It's not. Because if I die, who will protect the kingdom? Matthias is useless. Without me in the shadows, the people will suffer. And Griffin would have to live knowing I sacrificed myself for him. He'd blame himself forever. But if Griffin dies, if he dies, I realize I'm sobbing. Actually sobbing, tears streaming down my face, my whole body shaking. I press my forehead against his chest, feel his heart beating too fast, too weak. I'm sorry, I whisper. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to... Adelaide. His voice is barely audible, but something in its tone makes me look up. His storm-gray eyes meet mine, and even now, even dying, they're full of love. Look at me. Really look at me. I look. I see blood. I see pain. I see a beta who threw himself in front of a monster to save an omega, because that's what love means. That's what choosing someone means. You don't owe me anything, Griffin says, each word clearly costing him. I chose this. I chose you. I chose to stand by you, knowing exactly what might happen. This isn't your fault. You didn't fail me. You never could. You're dying because of me. I'm dying because I love you. There's a difference. He manages a weak smile. If you're going to do something, if you're going to use your power, then do it right. Don't hide anymore. Don't pretend. Show them. Show these monsters. Show the kingdom. Show the gods themselves that Omega can be powerful, that love can be strength, that choosing vulnerability was never weakness. He lifts his hand, the one not sliced open, and touches my face, his thumb brushing away tears. Claim me, properly, under this blood moon, in front of all these witnesses, not in secret, not in shame, with pride. Show them what we are, what we chose to be. Understanding crashes over me like a wave. He's asking for the formal claiming ceremony, the ritual that would bind us as true mates, recognized by the moon goddess herself. But doing that now, here, under a blood moon while I'm in heat with spectral witnesses, it would be unprecedented. It would break every rule of proper mate bonding. Claiming ceremonies are supposed to be planned, formal, witnessed by family and pack. Not desperate, not in the middle of a battle, not between an omega and a beta. The Omegaverse has rules for a reason. Designations exist in hierarchy for a reason. Alpha claims omega, alpha claims beta, but never omega claims beta. It's simply not done. The claiming bite comes from the dominant partner, and omegas are never dominant. Except I'm not just omega. I'm also Alpha Luna, even if the world doesn't know it. And Griffin is right. If I'm going to save him, if I'm going to save us both, I need to stop hiding, stop pretending, stop trying to maintain this impossible balance between what I was and what I chose to become. I need to become something new. The spectral wolves are moving again, tightening their circle. I can hear their whispers, corrupted, fallen, unnatural, growing louder, more insistent. I meet Griffin's eyes one more time. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I take a breath, stand up, Griffin's blood on my hands and clothes. The heat is burning through me, but I ignore it. The omega instincts are screaming, but I ignore them too. I reach deep into my core, past the omega vulnerability, past the alpha luna power, to something deeper, something that's purely me, purely Adelaide. I need you to stand, I tell Griffin. Can you do that? He shouldn't be able to. He's lost too much blood, but he pushes himself up anyway, using the wall for support. His sword is still in his hand. He's still ready to defend me even now. I stand before him, and for a moment, we're just us. Not designations, not queen and stable master, just Adelaide and Griffin. Two people who chose each other when the whole world said it was wrong. The spectral wolves are at the broken door now, pouring through the windows. We have seconds at most. I raise my voice, putting every ounce of authority I ever had as Alpha Luna into the words. I, Adelaide Thornhill, Alpha Luna born, Omega chosen, under the blood moon, and witnessed by darkness itself, claim you, Griffin Winslow, beta of my heart, as my true mate. The moment the words leave my lips, the world explodes. 3 things happen simultaneously, each one impossible, each one undeniable. First, the mate bond ignites between us. I've heard stories of mate bonds my whole life. They're supposed to form gradually, a growing awareness and connection between destined partners. This isn't gradual. This is a supernova, a thread of light, gold and silver intertwined, appears in the air between Griffin's chest and mine, connecting our hearts. I can feel everything he feels. The pain of his wounds, yes, but underneath that, overwhelming love, complete certainty, absolute trust. The bond pulses with our combined heartbeats, growing stronger with each second. Second, every spectral wolf in and around the cabin freezes mid-motion. Not like they've stopped moving, like they've been suspended in time itself. Their red eyes dim slightly, confusion replacing malice. Through my extended senses, I feel their connection to me waver, their manifestations of hatred toward me. But the claiming ceremony is an act of pure love. The two forces are diametrically opposed, and for this frozen moment, love is winning. Third, my body begins to change. It doesn't hurt. That's the first surprising thing. When the moon goddess transformed me from Alpha Luna to Omega, it was agony, bones breaking, instincts inverting, power relocating. This is nothing like that. This feels like evolution, like becoming more rather than less. Light pours from my skin, not the silver of Alpha Luna magic, not the soft glow of Omega vulnerability. This is white light, pure and bright as fresh snow, threaded through with veins of red like the blood moon above us. My hair, already white, begins to actually glow. My eyes, I can't see them, but I feel them changing, filling with that same white and red luminescence. The heat is still there, but it's transforming too. Instead of weakness, it becomes focused energy. Instead of making me want to submit, it makes me feel powerful. The contradiction between my Omega designation and Alpha Luna abilities isn't tearing me apart anymore. Instead, they're fusing, combining, becoming something entirely new. Through the mate bond, I feel Griffin's shock. His wounds have stopped bleeding. Not healed, not yet, but the gashes in his shoulder and chest have sealed enough to stop the flow of blood. The bond itself is doing that, my power flowing through the connection to sustain him. What's happening to me? I whisper, but my voice doesn't sound like me anymore. It echoes with power, resonates with authority I've never possessed even as Alpha Luna. And then I hear her, the moon goddess. Her voice fills the cabin, fills my mind, fills the entire world. Daughter who chose love over power, who kept power through love, who claimed forbidden mate under forbidden moon. You are no longer Alpha Luna. You are no longer Omega. You are Supreme Omega, vulnerable and invincible, submissive and dominant, the first of a new designation. You have broken the rules, and in breaking them, created something the world has never seen. Rise, Adelaide Thornhill. Rise and show them what love can forge. The frozen moment shatters. The spectral wolves move again, but differently now, uncertainly. They're sensing the change in me, and they don't know what I am anymore. Neither do I, but I'm about to find out. The light pouring from my skin isn't just illumination, it's transformation made visible. I hold up my hands and watch white radiance pulse beneath my flesh, threaded through with crimson veins that match the blood moon hanging above us. It's beautiful and terrible, like watching myself become something that shouldn't exist. The mate bond thrums between Griffin and me, alive and hungry, a golden silver cord that vibrates with every beat of our synchronized hearts. The heat hasn't disappeared. That's the first thing I notice. It's still there, burning through my veins, making my skin hypersensitive and my thoughts hazy at the edges. But it's changed. Before, the heat was weakness, waves of vulnerability that made my knees buckle and my instincts scream for submission. Now it feels like concentrated power, like standing at the center of a forge. The Omega vulnerability is still present, but instead of fighting against my Alpha Luna strength, they're twining together like rope being braided, each strand distinct but inseparable, creating something stronger than either could be alone. Through the mate bond, I feel Griffin's shock rolling toward me in waves. He's leaning against the cabin wall, his father's sword still gripped in one blood-stained hand, staring at me like he's seeing a goddess manifest in human form. Maybe he is. I don't know what I am anymore. Adelaide, he breathes, and my name on his lips sounds different now. I can feel the shape of it through our connection. Taste his awe and wonder and love and fear all mixed together into an emotion so complex it doesn't have a name. I know. My voice comes out wrong, layered with harmonics that weren't there before. It's my voice, but amplified, resonant with authority that makes the spectral wolves frozen around us flinch. I don't understand it either. But Griffin, the claiming isn't finished. I spoke the words. The bond ignited, but I don't need to finish. He knows what I mean. The formal claiming ceremony requires the bite, the physical mark that seals the mate bond and announces to the world, to the moon goddess herself, that we belong to each other. Traditionally, the dominant partner bites the submissive one on the throat, marking them as claimed. Alpha bites Omega. Alpha bites Beta. The stronger marks the weaker. But I'm both strong and weak now, dominant and submissive, and Griffin is dying. I can see it through the mate bond now, clearer than I could with just my eyes. His wounds have stopped bleeding only because the bond itself is holding him together, my new power flowing through the connection like a tourniquet made of light, but it's temporary. The gashes across his shoulder and chest are deep enough that I can see bone through the torn flesh. Without proper healing, without completing the claiming, he'll die anyway. Maybe not in the next minute, but soon. The spectral wolves are still frozen, but I can feel their confusion turning to rage. The moon goddess's blessing bought us this moment of stillness, but it won't last much longer. Already I can see the nearest wolf's red eyes beginning to brighten again, its shadowy form starting to ripple with renewed malice. Come here, I tell Griffin, and it's not a request. My supreme Omega voice carries compulsion that even a Beta can't resist. He pushes away from the wall and walks to me, movements stiff with pain but steady. The mate bond guides him, pulling him toward me like gravity. When he's close enough to touch, I cup his face in my glowing hands. His skin is too pale, clammy with shock and blood loss, but his storm gray eyes are clear, focused entirely on me, with an intensity that makes my transformed heart stutter. This is going to hurt, I whisper, but it will save you. Do you trust me? With everything I am. I tilt his head to the side, exposing the strong column of his throat, the place where the claiming mark goes, where my teeth will leave a permanent scar that every shifter will be able to see. It's the ultimate declaration of ownership, of belonging. In the traditional hierarchy, it means I'm claiming him as mine, my mate, my possession, my responsibility. But that's not what this is. Not really. This is mutual claiming. He chose me just as much as I chose him. This bite will mark him, yes, but through the mate bond, it will mark me too. My canines extend, and I feel them changing shape as they emerge. Alpha canines are long and thick, designed to dominate and subdue. Omega canines are small and delicate, meant for self-defense at most. Mine are neither. They're medium-length but razor-sharp, precise instruments rather than blunt weapons. Perfect for what I need to do. I strike fast, sinking my teeth into the side of Griffin's neck where it meets his shoulder. His blood floods my mouth, hot and copper-bright and alive with his essence. The taste of him explodes across my senses. Wood smoke and iron and something fundamentally Griffin, the same scent that's been driving my Omega instincts wild for months, but now amplified 1,000-fold. The mate bond doesn't just intensify, it detonates. Light erupts from where my teeth pierce his skin, blinding white shot through with gold and silver and that deep crimson red of the blood moon. It races along the golden-silver cord connecting our hearts, flowing into Griffin like lightning-seeking ground. Through our connection, I feel everything he feels. The sharp pain of the bite, yes, but underneath it, overwhelming pleasure, completion, the sense of two puzzle pieces that have finally locked into place. His wounds begin to heal. I watch through eyes that are mine and his simultaneously, the mate bond letting me see through his perspective, as the gashes across his shoulder knit themselves closed. Not instantly, not completely, but the torn muscle reweaves itself, the sliced skin pulls together, and within seconds what were fatal wounds have become merely serious injuries, still bleeding slightly, still painful, but no longer killing him. I pull my teeth free and step back, gasping. Griffin's blood stains my lips and chin. The claiming mark on his throat glows with that same white-gold-crimson light, a perfect impression of my teeth that will fade to a silver scar over time, but never fully disappear. Griffin sways on his feet. For a horrible moment, I think he's going to collapse anyway, that the healing wasn't enough. Then his eyes snap open, and I see they've changed. They're still gray, still that beautiful storm cloud color I fell in love with. But now they have gold at the edges, thin rings of luminescence that pulse in time with the mate bond. And when he looks at me, I know he's seeing more than he ever could before. Adelaide, my name again, but different this time, full of wonder. I can feel you, not just your emotions. I could feel those before a little, but now it's like you're inside my head, inside my heart. I feel your strength, Your power. Your love. It's... He trails off, apparently unable to find words big enough to contain what he's experiencing. I understand perfectly, because I feel the same from his side. His steadfastness, his courage, his absolute certainty in us, in this choice, in everything we are together. The mate bond goes both ways, an open channel between our souls. But there's something else too, something unexpected. Griffin is still beta. I can sense his designation clearly through the bond, but he's been changed by the claiming, just like I was changed by becoming Supreme Omega. Power flows through him now, not his own power but mine, channeled through our connection. He's stronger than he was 5 minutes ago, faster, his senses sharper. It's like the mate bond has made him an extension of my abilities, giving him access to strength that should be impossible for a beta to possess. What did we just do? Griffin asks, but there's no fear in his voice, only curiosity and awe. We rewrote the rules. I looked down at my still glowing hands, then back at him. The moon goddess said I'm the first Supreme Omega. Maybe you're the first beta mate of a Supreme Omega. Maybe we're both first of something new. The frozen moment ends. The spectral wolves surge back to life with a collective howl that sounds like 500 voices screaming in rage. The confusion I felt from them earlier has crystallized into pure hatred. They were created from the kingdom's rejection of my choice, fed by collective scorn and fear. But I've just claimed my mate openly, under a blood moon, with these shadow creatures as witnesses. I've doubled down on the exact choice they were born to punish. They're going to tear us apart. Griffin, behind me, I start to say, but he's already moving, his iron sword raised, positioning himself at my side instead of behind me. No, he says firmly, and through the mate bond I feel his resolution like bedrock. Not behind you, beside you. We do this together. There's no time to argue. The spectral wolves attack as one massive wave, pouring through every opening in the cabin's broken walls. I throw up my hands and power explodes from my palms. Not the focused Luna magic of before, but something wider, wilder. White light mixed with threads of gold and crimson spreads in an arc, and every spectral wolf it touches simply ceases to exist. But there are so many. For every one I destroy, 3 more take its place. They're not attacking randomly anymore either. They've learned. They dart and weave, using the shadows and debris of the cabin for cover, coordinating their strikes like a real pack. One lunges for my throat. I catch it mid-leap, and it dissolves in my grip. But 2 more attack from my blind side. Griffin's there before I even realize the danger, his sword cutting through their shadowy forms with brutal efficiency. The iron blade should pass through them harmlessly. I watched it happen before, but something's different now. The sword glows faintly gold where Griffin grips it, power from our mate bond coating the metal, and when it strikes the spectral wolves, they don't just dissipate, they scream and burn, their shadow forms eaten away by the light. We fight back to back, then side to side, then in a constantly flowing dance where neither of us leads and neither follows. The mate bond makes us perfectly synchronized. I sense where Griffin is about to move and adjust accordingly. He feels my attacks coming and positions himself to cover the gaps. When I blast a cluster of wolves on the left, he's already sweeping right. When he engages 3 wolves in close combat, I'm firing precise bolts of power over his shoulder to take out the ones flanking him. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. It's everything fighting as a true mated pair should be. But we're not winning. I destroy a spectral wolf and watch in horror as its shadow form dissipates, then slowly begins to reform 10 feet away. It takes maybe 30 seconds, but the creature literally rebuilds itself from darkness, and its red eyes open filled with the same hatred as before. They're reforming, I shout to Griffin, blasting another wolf into vapor only to see it start coalescing again moments later. We can't kill them permanently. Griffin decapitates a wolf, spins to impale another. So what do? I reach out with my senses, trying to understand these creatures beyond just their physical forms. They're manifestations of emotion. I know that much. Specifically, manifestations of the hatred and fear the kingdom felt toward me when I announced my transformation. Every insult, every curse, every moment of scorn has fed them, given them shape and substance. But manifestations need a source. Emotions this powerful don't just float in the air randomly. They're anchored to something, to someone, to the castle, the throne room where I was stripped of my crown. That's where this all started. That's where the collective rejection reached critical mass. That's the heart of these creatures' power. Griffin, we need to get to the castle. I destroy 3 more wolves. buying us a few seconds of breathing room. That's where these things were created, in the throne room, when the court rejected me. As long as that place still resonates with their hatred, the wolves will keep reforming. We need to go to the source. Griffin doesn't hesitate. Then we run. Now. We burst through the cabin's shattered doorway, spectral wolves snapping at our heels. The blood moon hangs directly overhead now, bathing the forest in crimson light that makes every shadow seem alive. Behind us, the cabin is crawling with wolves. They cover the walls like malignant growth, their red eyes tracking our movement. I pour power into my legs and run faster than I've ever run in human form. The Supreme Omega transformation has changed my body in ways I'm still discovering. I'm not just using Alpha Luna strength anymore. I'm using something that combines alpha power with Omega speed and agility. Griffin keeps pace beside me, his beta endurance enhanced by the mate bond connection. We tear through the forest at a speed that would kill a normal human, dodging trees that loom suddenly out of the darkness. The spectral wolves follow in a wave of living shadow. I can hear them behind us. Not footsteps. They don't make normal sounds, but a kind of rushing whisper, like wind through dead leaves. Hundreds of them, flowing between the trees like water, gaining ground despite our supernatural speed. How far? Griffin gasps as we leap over a fallen log. 3 miles, maybe less. I risk a glance back and immediately wish I hadn't. The wolves are closer than I thought, close enough that I can see the details of their shadow forms, close enough that the nearest one lunges and nearly catches Griffin's heel. I spin without breaking stride, fire a bolt of power behind us. The bolt expands into a wall of white light that incinerates 20 wolves instantly, but more flow around it like water around a stone, and the destroyed ones are already beginning to reform in our wake. We can't fight them all. Not here. Not in the open forest where they have infinite space to surround us. Our only chance is the castle, confronting the source of their power, forcing the kingdom to face what their hatred created. If we can make it there before the wolves drag us down. Griffin stumbles and my heart seizes, but he catches himself, pushes forward. Through the mate bond I feel his pain, the partially healed wounds across his shoulder and chest screaming with every movement. The claiming bite sealed them enough to stop the bleeding, but they're far from fully healed. He's running on pure willpower and the power I'm feeding him through our connection. I could carry him. My supreme Omega strength is enough, but that would slow us down. And anyway, I know he'd refuse. So instead, I pump more power through the mate bond, reinforcing his flagging endurance, giving him strength he doesn't naturally possess. We're going to make it, I tell him. Stay with me. Just a little further. I'm not going anywhere without you, he manages. And despite everything, the pain, the exhaustion, the 500 shadow monsters trying to kill us, he smiles. I love him so much in that moment. It physically hurts. We break through the tree line and the castle erupts before us. White stone walls silvered by moonlight. The sight should be beautiful. Instead, it's horrifying. Spectral wolves cover every surface. They crawl up the walls like spiders, pour through the windows like smoke, cluster so thickly on the battlements that the stone is barely visible beneath their shadowy forms. The castle I ruled for 10 years, the home I grew up in, has become a nightmare landscape of living darkness, and I can hear screaming from inside. Humans screaming, shifter screaming, the court, the nobles, everyone who stripped me of my crown and called me corrupted. They're in there. They're under attack from the very darkness their hatred created. Griffin and I slow to a stop at the edge of the forest, both of us breathing hard. The spectral wolves pursuing us flow past on either side, joining the siege of the castle. They ignore us now, focused entirely on the people inside. We could run, right now, escape east toward the border, leave Thornhill behind, let the court face the consequences of their choices. Through the mate bond, I feel Griffin thinking the exact same thing, considering it. We could have a life somewhere else, start over where no one knows what we are, what we chose, be happy, but we both know we won't. Because despite everything they did to me, despite the humiliation and rejection, I'm still a queen, and queens protect their people, even when those people don't deserve it, even when they hate you, especially then. We could leave, Griffin says quietly, watching the castle burn with spectral fire. Ride east, be in the next kingdom by sunrise. They made their choice. Let them live with it. I know, but you won't. Not a question. He knows me too well now. I look at him, really look at him. His hair is matted with blood, his shirt torn and stained crimson, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. He just nearly died protecting me. He owes these people less than nothing. You wouldn't respect me if I did, I say softly. Griffin's smile is tired, but genuine. No, I wouldn't. That's not who you are. And he's right. I can run from my crown. I can transform my designation. I can break every rule the shifter world has. But I can't stop being the woman who swore at 18 to protect her kingdom with blood and bone. That oath didn't end when Matthias tore the crown from my head. It doesn't end until I'm dead. I turn toward the castle, power already gathering in my hands. White light mixed with gold and crimson, the colors of supreme Omega, illuminating the darkness. Through the shattered windows I can see people running, fighting, dying. I can feel their terror like a physical thing, waves of fear rolling out from the castle to meet us. Ready? I ask Griffin. He raises his father's sword, now glowing with transferred power from our bond. Always. Together, we walk toward the castle. Toward the screaming. Toward the people who destroyed us. We're going to save them. And then we're going to make damn sure they understand exactly what they created, and exactly what we've become. The spectral wolves see us coming, and part like a dark sea, creating a path straight to the castle gates. They're not fleeing. They're waiting. Because they know what I've only just figured out. This confrontation was always inevitable. The moment I chose transformation, the moment I claimed Griffin under a blood moon, the moment I became Supreme Omega, all of it was leading here, to this moment, this choice, this reckoning. The castle gates stand open, broken from their hinges by the wolf tide. Inside, shadows dance and people scream. I step through the gates and into my former home, Griffin at my side, power blazing from every inch of my transformed body. Time to finish what the kingdom started when they rejected me. Time to show them what love forged in the heart of hatred can become. The castle courtyard is drowning in chaos when Griffin and I step through the broken gates. Spectral wolves swarm every surface, clinging to the walls like malignant ivy, pouring through shattered windows, circling terrified guards who slash uselessly at shadows with silver-plated swords. The silver does nothing. These creatures aren't normal supernatural entities. They're manifestations of pure emotion, and emotion doesn't care about blessed metal. A guard stumbles backward from 3 wolves, his sword arm hanging useless at his side, already mauled. One of the specters lunges for his throat. I move without thinking, power blazing from my palm in a concentrated beam of white gold crimson light. The wolf evaporates mid-leap with a shriek that sounds disturbingly human. The guard collapses against the courtyard wall, clutching his mangled arm. His eyes find me and go wide with shock. I know him. Captain Henrik, one of my father's most loyal soldiers, a man who trained me in swordplay when I was 12 years old. He'd been in the throne room 3 months ago when they stripped my crown. He hadn't spoken out against me, but he hadn't defended me either. He just stood there, silent, letting it happen. Your Majesty, he breathes, the title automatic even after everything. Get inside, I tell him, already moving past. Find the healers. That wound needs treatment before infection sets in. Griffin and I push deeper into the courtyard. Every servant, every guard, every courtier who sees us freezes in shock. The fallen queen has returned, and she's not fallen anymore. She's blazing with power that makes the blood moon's light look dim by comparison. My white hair streams behind me like a banner, each strand glowing with that same impossible luminescence. My eyes, I can't see them, but I can feel them burning, must look like miniature suns. We destroy specters as we move. Griffin's iron sword, enhanced by our mate bond, cuts through their shadow forms like their solid flesh. My power obliterates them in bursts of light. We're not trying to save everyone. That's impossible with this many wolves. But we clear a path, giving people corridors to escape through. A young maid, barely 16, is cornered by 5 specters near the well. I recognize her too, Clara, who used to bring me breakfast when I couldn't sleep. She's screaming, arms wrapped around her head protectively. I throw up a shield of white light around her, a bubble that repels the wolves. They hurl themselves at the barrier and bounce off, shrieking in frustration. "Run!" I shout at her. "Get to the kitchens, barricade the doors!" She runs, sobbing with relief. Through the mate bond, I feel Griffin's approval, his love for me intensifying because even now, even after everything, I'm still protecting people who didn't protect me. The great hall looms ahead, its massive oak doors scorched and clawed but still standing. The spectral wolves are thickest here, clustered around the entrance like they know something important is inside, something they desperately want to destroy. The Royal Council, my cousin Matthias, everyone who rejected me. They're all in there, barricaded behind those doors while their own hatred tries to tear them apart. I stop 10 feet from the entrance. Griffin positions himself at my side, sword ready, blood still staining his torn shirt despite the healing. Through our bond, I feel his exhaustion, his pain from wounds that are only partially closed, but I also feel his determination, his absolute refusal to leave my side no matter what happens next. Ready? I ask quietly. Always. I gather power in both hands until it blazes bright enough to hurt. Then I slam it forward in a concentrated blast. The doors explode inward, torn from their hinges by the force. The spectral wolves clustering around the entrance are vaporized instantly. The ones inside the hall scatter, retreating temporarily from the overwhelming light. Griffin and I stride through the opening, and for a moment, everything goes silent. The Great Hall, the room where I held court for 10 years, where I passed judgment and received ambassadors and celebrated victories, is a nightmare. Furniture has been overturned and stacked into makeshift barricades. Tapestries that once showed my family's proud history hang in tatters. And in the center of the room, huddled behind a ring of desperate guards, is the Royal Council. Lord Matthias stands at their center. My crown, still sitting mockingly on his head. He's trying to look authoritative, trying to maintain the dignity of an alpha king. But I can see the terror in his eyes, the understanding that he's been completely, catastrophically wrong about everything. Lady Cordelia is there too, the ancient counselor who'd led the charge against me. Lord Pemberton, the treasurer who called me corrupted by base desire. Sir William, the knight commander who'd literally held my arms while Matthias tore the crown from my head. All of them. Every single person who stripped me of my position and cast me out. They see me enter and several gasp. Matthias actually stumbles backward a step. Adelaide, his voice cracks on my name, trying for authority but landing somewhere near hysteria. You brought these things. You cursed us. This is your revenge for... Silence. My voice isn't loud, but it carries absolute command. The Supreme Omega designation apparently comes with vocal power that even an Alpha King can't resist. Matthias's mouth snaps shut mid-sentence, his eyes going wide with shock. I walk forward slowly, Griffin at my side, power still blazing in my hands. The spectral wolves that had been attacking the council pull back, creating a circle around us. They're waiting. They know this confrontation has been inevitable since the moment of their creation. You think I brought these creatures? I ask, and my voice is cold enough to freeze blood. You think this is my curse? My revenge? What else could it be? Lady Cordelia demands, trying to rally her courage. These monsters appeared the moment you transformed yourself, destroyed your designation for that beta servant. Careful, Griffin says quietly, his sword rising slightly. That's my mate you're insulting. Lady Cordelia blanches but continues. This is clearly your doing. Dark magic. Unnatural transformation. You violated the moon goddess's laws, and now you're facing the consequences of your own hatred. I cut her off. Look at them. I gesture to the spectral wolves circling us. Really look. What do you see? Lord Pemberton squints at the nearest wolf. It's one of the smaller ones, its form constantly shifting and rippling. I see monsters, shadow creatures, things that shouldn't exist. You see your own darkness made manifest. I reach out with my power, touching the mind of the spectral wolf he's looking at. It shrieks, and suddenly I can see into it, see the emotion that forms its core. I project that emotion outward, forcing the entire council to feel it. Fear, specifically Pemberton's fear. Fear that my transformation meant the hierarchy he'd built his entire worldview around was meaningless. Fear that if an Alpha Luna could become Omega by choice, then designation wasn't destiny. Fear that everything he believed was a lie. That wolf, I tell him as he gasps under the weight of his own terror reflected back at him, is made from your fear of me. From the moment you called me corrupted and demanded my abdication. I release the connection and Pemberton collapses, shaking. I turn to another wolf, this one larger, more aggressive. I touch its mind and project again. Hatred. Matthias's hatred. Not hatred of me personally. He'd never cared enough about me to truly hate me. No, this was hatred of the situation. Hatred that his carefully planned ascension to power was being complicated by my choice. Hatred that I'd given him the throne but made him look like a usurper in the process. "That one is yours, cousin," I say, and Matthias flinches from the venom in the word cousin, created from your resentment, from your anger that I didn't simply fade away quietly after you stole my crown. One by one, I force them to see, to feel. Every spectral wolf in this hall is connected to someone on the council. Every shadow creature is built from their collective rejection, their scorn, their inability to accept that I chose love over power. These things aren't my curse, I say when I've shown them all their own darkness. They're yours. Every word of hatred you spoke, every insult you hurled, every moment you looked at me with disgust and called me fallen. Then all of that emotion, under the right circumstances, with enough collective force, during a celestial event like the blood moon, can become real, become physical. You created these monsters. You manifested your own hatred, and now it's trying to destroy you. The silence that follows is absolute. Even the spectral wolves have stopped their constant whispering. Then I do something they don't expect. I show them the truth. I raise my hands, and power flows from them, but not destructively this time. Instead, I'm creating illusions, projections of memory, perfectly preserved because I'm Alpha Luna underneath my Omega designation, and Luna magic specializes in memory and truth. The first memory blooms in the air above our heads, large enough for everyone to see. The northern border, 3 weeks after my abdication. A band of raiders creeping toward a farming village in the dead of night. Then a white wolf, me, in my shifted form, emerging from the darkness to intercept them. The battle is brutal and one-sided. I tear through the raiders like a winter storm, leaving none alive to threaten my people. The memory fades, and another takes its place. The eastern fields, 1 week later. Blight spreading through the crops, a fungal infection that will mean starvation for hundreds if left unchecked. My human form this time, kneeling in the dirt, hands glowing with silver, Luna healing magic as I pour power into the earth itself, burning away the infection and strengthening the plants. More memories. The fire in the merchant district that I extinguished before it could spread. The collapsed mine where I held up tons of rock with raw strength while workers escaped. The sick children in the lower city that I healed with Luna magic, one by one, always at night, always hidden. 3 months of protection, 3 months of serving my kingdom in secret while they thought I'd abandoned them, while Matthias threw parties and ignored threats and congratulated himself on being king. "You stripped my crown," I say, as the final memory fades. Last night, me tracking the spectral wolves' dark energy, trying to understand what was coming. You called me weak. You said I was corrupted, that I'd destroyed my power for a beta servant. I let the full weight of my supreme Omega power blaze forth until the entire hall is bathed in white gold crimson light that makes the stone walls glow. But I never stopped being your queen, never stopped protecting you, even when you didn't deserve it, because that's what queens do. They protect, even when their people hate them, even when their people destroy them. That's what leadership actually means. Lord Matthias, who'd been standing this whole time, suddenly drops to his knees. The crown, my crown, falls from his head and clatters across the stone floor. When he looks up at me, there are tears streaming down his face. "Adelaide," he chokes out. We thought you were corrupted. We thought love made you weak. But we were wrong. We were so wrong. We're the weak ones. We rejected you and created these monsters from our own cowardice." His voice breaks completely. "I'm sorry. Moon Goddess, forgive me. I'm sorry." One by one, the other council members fall to their knees too. Lady Cordelia is weeping openly. Sir William has his head bowed in shame. Even Lord Pemberton, the most rigid traditionalist among them, is shaking with the weight of what they've done. But their apologies, their remorse, it's not enough. I can feel it. The spectral wolves in the hall are becoming transparent, their forms wavering as the hatred that created them starts to dissipate. But there are hundreds more outside. And at the core of this entire manifestation, there's something else, something I've been trying not to acknowledge. Part of this darkness is mine. Griffin senses it through our bond. His hand finds mine, squeezes gently. "Adelaide," he says quietly, "you need to forgive yourself too." He's right. I know he's right. But it's so much harder than forgiving them. Before I can respond, Griffin does something completely unexpected. He steps forward, addressing the council directly. A beta, covered in blood, standing in the great hall, and speaking with authority, No servant has ever possessed here. You all keep saying Adelaide was corrupted by love, he begins, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. But I say she was freed by it. You govern through fear and hierarchy. She governs through loyalty and sacrifice. And you punished her for choosing vulnerability, for choosing to be complete instead of just powerful. He looks at me, and the love in his eyes makes my breath catch. She descended from her throne, but she never stopped being a queen. And I, a beta, a stable master, nobody by your standards, had the honor of being chosen by her, not because she was weak, but because she was strong enough to choose what she wanted instead of what was expected, strong enough to be vulnerable, strong enough to love. The words hang in the air like a benediction. Several council members are weeping openly now. I know what I need to do. The spectral wolves can't be destroyed by force alone. They're manifestations of rejection, and rejection can only be countered by one thing: acceptance. I turn to face the council fully. You took my crown, but I don't want it back, not the way it was before. If you want me to save this kingdom, if you want me to destroy the darkness you created, I need something more valuable than forced obedience. I look at Matthias first. You, cousin, who took my throne. Do you accept that a supreme Omega can rule? He doesn't hesitate. I accept. You're more fit to rule than I ever was. The crown is yours. It was always yours. I turn to Lady Cordelia. You, who called me corrupted and led the motion for my abdication. Do you accept that my choice wasn't weakness, but courage? She wipes tears from her weathered face. I accept. I was afraid of change, afraid that everything I believed about designation and hierarchy was wrong. But I see now, you didn't lose power. You transformed it. I accept. One by one, I force them to confront what they did, to truly see it, understand it, and choose to accept, rather than reject. Lord Pemberton, I accept that love can make us stronger, not weaker. Sir William, I accept that I was wrong to stand by while your crown was stolen. Each member of the council, facing their actions, their fears, their role in creating this nightmare. With each genuine acceptance, the spectral wolves become more transparent. Their forms waver and thin, the hatred sustaining them draining away as it's replaced by understanding. But there's still one wolf left, the largest one, the one I've been avoiding looking at directly. It stands in the center of the hall, between me and the council. And when I finally force myself to look at it, really look at it, I see my own face reflected in its shadowy form. This spectral wolf is mine, created not from their hatred of me, but from my own self-hatred. From every moment I doubted my choice. Every night I lay awake wondering if I'd destroyed myself for nothing. Every time I looked at Griffin and feared I'd ruined both our lives. The spectral version of me speaks with my voice, but colder, harder. You gave up everything. You destroyed your designation. You chose a beta when you could have had any alpha in the kingdom. You made yourself vulnerable, made yourself weak. And for what? Love? Love doesn't protect kingdoms. Power does. And you threw yours away. Griffin moves to stand beside me, but I stop him with a raised hand. This confrontation has to be mine alone. I walk toward my shadow self slowly. You're right about some things. I did give up a lot. I transformed my designation. I chose a beta. I became vulnerable. The shadow wolf's red eyes gleam with victory. But you're wrong about the important part. I continue. I didn't throw away my power. I transformed it. Just like I transformed myself. Power isn't dominion. Power is choice. And I chose love. I chose vulnerability. I chose to be complete instead of just strong. I'm standing right in front of the shadow now, close enough to touch. I accept my doubts. I say clearly. I accept my fears. I accept that there were nights I wondered if I made the right choice. I accept that part of me will always wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed Alpha Luna, if I'd chosen power over Griffin. The shadow wolf snarls, but I don't flinch. And I accept that even with those doubts, even with those fears, I still choose my path. I choose Griffin. I choose love. I choose transformation. Not because it's easy, not because it's safe, but because it's true. I reach out and embrace the shadow, actually pull it toward me, into me. It fights, snarling and clawing, but I hold on, and slowly, the darkness dissolves, not destroyed, absorbed, accepted, made part of me rather than something to fight against. When it's gone, I'm gasping, on my knees, Griffin supporting me. But the hall is clearer, brighter. Every single spectral wolf inside the great hall has vanished. The immediate threat is over, but through my extended senses, I can still feel hundreds of wolves outside. The hall is clean, but the castle is still under siege. Acceptance from the council isn't enough. These creatures were fed by the entire kingdom's collective rejection, not just the nobles. I'm catching my breath, trying to figure out our next move, when the hall doors, the ones I blasted open, creak wider. Not spectral wolves entering. People, dozens of them, then hundreds, pouring into the great hall like a living tide. But these aren't nobles or guards. These are commoners, servants and merchants and farmers and craftspeople, the actual people of Thornhill. They crowd into the hall, surrounding us, and an elderly woman pushes her way to the front. I recognize her immediately. Mistress Helena, who runs the bakery in the lower city. I've known her since I was a child, stealing sweet rolls from her kitchen while my mother pretended not to notice. She looks at me with tears streaming down her weathered face. "My queen," she says, her voice cracking with emotion. "We saw what you did, these last months, in the shadows. We thought you'd abandoned us when you transformed, thought you'd run away with your love and forgotten us." She drops to one knee, and the gesture ripples through the crowd, hundreds of people kneeling. "But you never abandoned us. You protected us, saved us. While we whispered about you, while we judged you, you were bleeding for us in the darkness. Forgive us, Adelaide. Forgive us for not seeing." I look at Griffin, at these people, at the council still kneeling behind me. The common folk never rejected me. They were confused, maybe, uncertain. But the hatred, the scorn, the active rejection, that all came from the nobles, from the court. And now the people are here, not to hide, not to demand protection, but to accept, to support, to show me that their hearts were never truly closed. But will it be enough? The spectral wolves outside are still strong, still hungry. People's acceptance is powerful, but is it powerful enough to counter 3 months of concentrated noble hatred? I don't know, but I'm about to find out. Mistress Helena kneels before me, tears streaming down her weathered face, and the sight breaks something in my chest. Behind her, hundreds more. The baker's apprentice, the blacksmith who shoes the war horses, the midwife who delivered half the children in the lower city, the seamstress who once mended my favorite riding cloak, common folk, the actual heart of Thornhill. And they're all looking at me not with fear or judgment, but with love. "You saved my daughter from the plague," a young mother calls out from the crowd, holding a small child on her hip. She was dying, and the healers had given up. Then the fever broke overnight. I found silver light on her skin the next morning. That was you, wasn't it? Through the mate bond, I feel Griffin's gentle encouragement. "Tell them the truth." "Yes," I say quietly. "I couldn't let her die. She was only 3 years old." "You stopped the bandits who attacked our caravan," an elderly merchant says, his voice shaking. "3 months ago on the eastern road. We thought we were dead. Then something white moved in the darkness, and suddenly we were safe. The bandits were just gone." "The northern raiders," someone else adds. "The fire in the merchant quarter, the collapsed mine, the poisoned well in South Gate. Every time something terrible was about to happen, it just didn't. That was you. All of it was you." One by one they speak. Not formal declarations, not rehearsed speeches, just honest gratitude from people whose lives I saved while they thought I'd abandoned them. Each testimony hits me like a physical blow, because I'd done all those things expecting nothing in return, expecting to be hated forever. But they saw. Somehow, they saw. And with each genuine expression of acceptance, I feel the spectral wolves weakening, not just the ones that had been in the Great Hall, but the hundreds still outside. The love and gratitude flowing into this room is acting like sunlight on shadow, burning away the hatred that sustains the creatures. "The siege is breaking," Griffin says suddenly, his enhanced beta senses picking up what I'm feeling through my power. "Adelaide, they're dissolving." I extend my awareness beyond the Great Hall, past the stone walls, out to where the spectral wolves have been tearing through the castle grounds. He's right. The wolves are weakening, their shadow forms becoming transparent, their movements sluggish. The tide is turning. Acceptance is more powerful than hatred. Love is stronger than fear. "Griffin, with me." I don't wait for the council's permission, don't pause to explain. I just run, Griffin matching my pace, our boots pounding against stone as we race through corridors toward the battlements. We burst through a door onto the castle's eastern wall, just as the first rays of dawn break over the horizon. The blood moon is setting in the west, its crimson light fading to pale pink, and everywhere I look, spectral wolves are dissipating like morning fog. They're not fleeing, they're dissolving. Each one lets out a sound that's not quite a howl, not quite a sigh, something like relief, actually, like they're grateful to finally stop existing. Their shadow forms ripple and thin, becoming transparent, then invisible, then nothing at all. But there are still too many, hundreds of them clinging to existence through pure malice, fed by the deepest, most stubborn hatred. Those ones aren't going quietly. I plant my feet at the center of the battlements, Griffin standing guard at my back. I raise both hands toward the blood moon, even as it sets, and I channel everything, every ounce of my supreme Omega power, the Alpha Luna strength buried in my core, the Omega intuition that lets me sense every shadow creature within a mile, the mate bond amplifying everything Griffin is, everything we are together. White light erupts from my palms, not a beam this time, a wave. It expands outward from where I stand, rolling across the battlements, down into the courtyards, through the gardens, over the walls, into the forest beyond. Everywhere it touches, spectral wolves dissolve, not violently, almost gently, like darkness accepting that dawn has come, and it's time to rest. The remaining wolves scream, and this time it really is relief. They were created from hatred, but they didn't want to exist. They were pain given form, suffering made manifest. And now that pain is finally ending. The wave of light reaches the forest's edge and stops, having encompassed the entire castle grounds. When it fades, every single spectral wolf is gone. 500 shadows, dissolved into nothing. The only sounds are birdsong and the wind and the quiet sobbing of survivors who can't quite believe they're still alive. Griffin catches me as my legs give out. The power expenditure was immense. I'm shaking, exhausted, barely able to stand. But through our bond, his strength flows into me, keeping me upright, keeping me whole. Look, he whispers, turning me to face east. The sun is rising. Actual, honest daylight. Golden and warm, and absolutely normal. The blood moon has fully set. The longest night of my life is over. We did it, I breathe, barely able to believe it. You did it, Griffin corrects gently. I just got to stand beside you while you saved everyone. I want to argue, but I'm too tired. Instead, I lean against him, letting him support my weight as we watch the sunrise together. His blood has dried on both our clothes. My hair is matted with sweat and dirt. We look like we've been through a war. We have, I suppose, and we won. But as the adrenaline fades and exhaustion sets in, I'm aware that victory isn't neat. The castle is partially destroyed, walls cracked, windows shattered, entire sections damaged by spectral claws and desperate fighting. People are hurt. Some are dead. The kingdom has been traumatized, and I'm standing here covered in blood and exhaustion, knowing that what comes next might be even harder than what we just survived. Because now I have to figure out how to actually rule, how to build something new from the ashes of what was destroyed. The council finds us on the battlements an hour later, after Griffin and I have caught our breath. They climb the stairs slowly, like people walking to their own execution. Lord Matthias is in front, and he's carrying something wrapped in silk. My crown, the actual golden crown of Thornhill, with its ancient sapphires and pearls, heavy with 500 years of history. He stops 3 feet away and holds it out. Adelaide Thornhill, he says formally, though his voice shakes. You are the rightful queen of Thornhill. I was an arrogant usurper who nearly destroyed us all. Please, accept your crown. Take back what was stolen from you. The entire council watches, waiting for my response. Through the mate bond, I feel Griffin's curiosity. He has no idea what I'm going to say. Neither does anyone else. No. The word drops into the silence like a stone into still water. Matthias actually flinches. No, he repeats, not understanding. I don't want the crown back. Not that crown. Not the way things were. I straighten, pulling away from Griffin's support to stand on my own. I'm not the Alpha Luna who ruled alone anymore. I'm Supreme Omega, and I will not govern the way you expect me to. Lady Cordelia steps forward, genuine confusion on her ancient face. Then how will you govern? If you refuse the crown, I'll govern with Griffin at my side, I interrupt. As my mate, as my equal, as the first beta royal consort in our kingdom's history. The shocked silence is almost funny. Almost. A beta consort? Lord Pemberton looks like I've suggested making horses vote. There's no precedent, no law, no tradition. Then we'll make new traditions. I look at each council member in turn. And that's not all that's changing. The Royal Council will be expanded to include representatives from the common folk, not just nobles, merchants, craftspeople, farmers, people who actually understand what the kingdom needs. Sir William opens his mouth to protest, but I keep talking. Designation will no longer determine hierarchy. Alphas, betas, and omegas will have equal rights under law. No more assuming alphas are natural leaders or omegas are naturally submissive. People will be judged by their actions and character, not their biology. You're describing revolution, Lady Cordelia says faintly. I'm describing evolution. I soften my tone slightly. I will rule, yes, but not as a dictator. As a queen who listens to her council, considers the needs of all her people, and makes decisions based on wisdom rather than just power. That's what Supreme Omega means, combining strength with compassion, dominance with understanding. Lord Matthias sets the crown down carefully on the stone battlements. And if we refuse, if we say this goes too far, I smile, but it's sad rather than threatening. Then you'll have proven you learned nothing from last night, and I'll leave. Take Griffin and go somewhere we can live in peace. You can govern yourselves however you want. I pause, making sure they understand the next part. But the spectral wolves will return. Because darkness always comes back when love is rejected, when people are forced into boxes they don't fit, when power is valued over compassion. You'll create new monsters from new hatred, and next time, I won't be here to save you. No one speaks. The implications settle over them like heavy snow. Finally, Lady Cordelia breaks the silence. You would really leave? After everything you sacrificed to stay? I sacrificed to choose love over power. I correct her. If you're asking me to choose power without love, without the chance to actually change things, then yes, I'll leave, because that's not the kind of queen I want to be anymore. More silence. Then Lord Matthias does something I never expected. He kneels, actually kneels, on the cold stone, in front of everyone. Then teach us, he says simply. Teach us how to be better. I'll support every change you described. Will it be difficult? Yes. Will some people resist? Absolutely. But you're right. We need to evolve or we'll destroy ourselves. One by one, the other council members kneel too. Not in worship, in acceptance, in willingness to try something new. It's not perfect. It's not a fairy tale ending where everyone instantly agrees and lives happily ever after. But it's real, and real is better than perfect. The people organize a ceremony for noon in the castle's main courtyard. Not the formal coronation I would have received as Alpha Luna, with ancient rituals and blessed oils and solemn vows. This is something else entirely. Something spontaneous and genuine that makes my throat tight with emotion. They've made me a crown, not the heavy gold one that sat in the treasury. This one is woven from white meadow flowers and silver ribbons, the kind of thing a child might make for a beloved aunt. It's simple. It's beautiful. It's real. Mistress Helena brings it forward, her weathered hands trembling slightly. We couldn't give you gold and jewels, Your Majesty, but we wanted you to know. You're our queen, not because of tradition or bloodline or designation, but because you chose to protect us even when we didn't deserve it. When she sets the flower crown on my head, I discover something profound. The gold crown weighed like an anchor, like responsibility without joy. This weighs almost nothing. It's light. It's perfect. It represents love freely given rather than duty grudgingly accepted. I'm crying when I thank her. Griffin is at my side, gripping my hand tightly, and I can feel through our bond that he's crying too. The blacksmiths present Griffin with a sword, not his father's old iron blade, but a new one forged specially for him. The protector's sword, they call it. The blade is steel, but the hilt is wrapped in leather dyed blue, and set into the pommel is a small sapphire that matches my eyes. For the first beta royal consort, the master blacksmith says gruffly, "May you always stand beside your queen as you did last night." Griffin accepts it with shaking hands, then kneels before me. Not in submission. I can feel through the bond that this is respect, not subservience. When he looks up at me, his storm-gray eyes with their new golden edges are full of love so intense it takes my breath away. I reach down and pull him to his feet, kiss him right there, in front of hundreds of witnesses, with flower petals drifting around us in the breeze. My mate, I say clearly, making sure everyone hears. My equal. My love. The crowd erupts in cheers. Not polite applause, real joy. Because despite everything, the chaos, the destruction, the trauma, love won. And people always cheer for love, even when tradition says they shouldn't. But I don't let myself get lost in the celebration, because there's work ahead. So much work. The castle needs massive repairs. Entire sections are damaged beyond simple fixing. It'll take months, maybe years to restore everything. Meanwhile, we'll have to govern from partially destroyed rooms, improvising constantly. Many nobles are uncomfortable with the changes I've announced. They'll resist quietly, testing boundaries, seeing how serious I am about designation equality. Some might even leave, taking their wealth and influence to other kingdoms. We'll have to weather that storm. The neighboring kingdoms are already sending concerned messages about the situation in Thornhill. An Omega Supreme Queen with a beta consort, changing ancient laws about hierarchy. That's going to make waves. Some kingdoms will see us as inspiration. Others will see us as threat. Politics is going to be complicated. And there are people who died last night. Servants and guards who didn't survive the spectral wolves' attack. Their families will need support. Their losses acknowledged. Grief doesn't disappear just because we won. I'm under no illusions. This isn't a perfect ending. It's a messy, complicated, difficult beginning. But for the first time since I became queen at 18, I'm not facing these challenges alone. Griffin and I retreat to the royal apartments late that evening. They're technically not royal apartments anymore. Matthias had claimed them during his brief reign. But when we arrive, we find servants have cleaned them, changed the bedding, set out fresh water for washing. Someone even lit candles. I collapse into a chair, every muscle screaming with exhaustion. Griffin immediately kneels beside me, beginning to check my injuries with gentle, practiced hands. Through our bond, I feel his concern. I'm bruised and scratched all over, though nothing serious. The transformation to Supreme Omega apparently came with enhanced healing. Your shoulder, I protest weakly, trying to examine his wounds. Griffin, you were practically eviscerated. Is healing fine thanks to your power flowing through the mate bond? He interrupts gently. See? He shifts his torn shirt aside to show me. The gashes that should have taken weeks to heal are already closed. The skin pink and new, but intact. You've been healing me this whole time without even realizing it. I touch the new scars carefully, marveling at them. At us. At what we've become together. Do you regret it? Griffin asks quietly. Everything you lost? I think about that. Really think. I lost my crown, the heavy gold one that represented absolute power. I lost the respect people gave me out of fear rather than love. I lost my position at the top of an unchallengeable hierarchy. I lost a decade of carefully constructed distance between myself and everyone else. I lost a crown that felt like a prison, I say slowly. I lost respect based on terror. I lost a position that kept me isolated and alone. I lost the ability to pretend I didn't need anyone. I meet his eyes. Those storm-gray depths, now rimmed with gold from our bond. And I gained you. Gained love that chose me not for power but for myself. Gained the ability to govern with compassion instead of just force. Gained a new kind of strength, the kind that comes from accepting vulnerability instead of hiding it. Gained proof that transformation isn't destruction. It's evolution. I smile. And it's the most genuine smile I've worn in years. No, Griffin. I don't regret it. Not for a moment. He kisses me then, soft and gentle despite our exhaustion. Through the mate bond, I feel his absolute certainty in us, his pride in what we accomplished, his love that has never wavered even when everything else did. Later, after we've washed away the blood and dirt, after we've tended each other's wounds, after we've simply held each other in the darkness, I find myself standing at the window looking out over Thornhill. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson that have nothing to do with blood moons and everything to do with the natural beauty of my kingdom. Griffin joins me, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. What are you thinking? He asks softly. That they used to call me the Albino Wraith, the ghost queen who ruled with ice in her veins and winter in her soul, a legend of cold power and distant authority. I lean back against him, feeling his warmth, his solidity, his absolute presence. Now they'll call me something else. The queen who chose love, the supreme Omega, the woman who broke every rule and somehow saved them all anyway. Does it matter what they call you? Not really. I turn in his arms to face him. What matters is that I know who I am now. Not just powerful, not just vulnerable. Both, always both. Omega and Alpha Luna merged into something the world has never seen before. I look back out the window at my kingdom, damaged but surviving, traumatized but healing, uncertain but willing to try. I didn't recover all my power. The political kind, I mean. Matthias gave me back authority, but I'm not the absolute ruler I was. The castle isn't fully restored. There are people who'll always question my choices. There are neighboring kingdoms who see me as a threat. There will be challenges and resistance and difficulties I can't even imagine yet. Griffin's arms tighten around me. But I have you. Have love that chose me and was chosen in return. Have a mate bond that makes me stronger, not weaker. Have common folk who support me not from fear but from genuine gratitude. Have a council that's learning, slowly, to value people over hierarchy. I smile into the gathering darkness, and for the first time in 10 years of ruling, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not pretending to be invulnerable. I'm not hiding behind cold authority and distant power. I'm just Adelaide, vulnerable and powerful, weak and strong, Omega and Alpha, complete. Adelaide Thornhill. Griffin murmurs into my hair. The first Supreme Omega, the queen who proved that designation isn't destiny, that love isn't weakness, that choosing vulnerability takes more courage than maintaining invulnerability. They said Omegas can't rule, I whisper. I proved them wrong, not by ruling like an alpha, but by ruling as something new, something unprecedented, something that shows the world that power and compassion aren't opposites. They're partners. The moon is rising now. Not a blood moon, just a normal, beautiful silver crescent, the moon goddess's symbol, reminding me that she blessed this transformation, that she wanted me to become exactly what I am. I'm the first Supreme Omega, I say to the darkness, to Griffin, to the moon goddess herself, but I won't be the last. Other queens will follow. Other rulers will choose love over tradition. Other people will discover that transformation isn't betrayal, it's truth. Griffin's hand finds mine. Our fingers interlacing. Through the mate bond, I feel his absolute faith in me, in us, in what we're building together. This isn't an ending, I breathe. It's a beginning, the start of something that will change the entire shifter world. Because once people see that an Omega Supreme can rule, that a Beta can be royal consort, that designation doesn't determine destiny. Everything changes. The moon climbs higher, silver light spilling across the kingdom. Somewhere in the lower city, a bell chimes the hour. Life continues. People sleep and wake and love and struggle and survive. The world turns, and I'm not afraid anymore. I'm Adelaide Thornhill. I chose love, and love chose me back. I became Omega to understand vulnerability, and discovered it was the greatest strength of all. I claimed a Beta mate, and proved that hierarchy is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid the terrifying beauty of true equality. I lost a crown and gained a kingdom. Lost absolute power and gained genuine love. Lost invulnerability and gained completeness. They'll write songs about this night. Stories about the queen who transformed, the blood moon siege, the birth of the Supreme Omega designation. Future historians will debate whether I was revolutionary or rebellious, visionary or foolish. I don't care what they decide, because I know the truth. I know that when faced with the choice between power and love, I chose love, and love remade me into something stronger than I ever was before. The flower crown is on my dresser, already wilting slightly, petals curling at the edges. It won't last, but that's okay. Real things never do. They change and grow and evolve, just like I have, just like we all must. Come to bed, Griffin says softly, tugging my hand. Tomorrow we start rebuilding, but tonight, let's just rest. I follow him, leaving the window and the moonlight and the complicated future behind for now, because he's right. Tomorrow there will be work, and challenges, and resistance, and change. Tomorrow we start the long, difficult process of actually implementing everything I promised. Tomorrow, we face the reality of governing in unprecedented ways. But tonight, I can rest in my mate's arms, and know that whatever comes next, we'll face it together. I'm Adelaide Thornhill, Alpha Luna born, Omega chosen, Supreme Omega forged in the heart of a blood moon and the fire of true love. The queen who chose love and became stronger for it. This is just the beginning, and I cannot wait to see what we build next.